How's it going, guys? My name's Shane. Welcome back to the Horror Basement and another installment in the classic horror review series. Now, today we're going to be talking about Monster from a Prehistoric Planet, which is a 1967 film. And before we continue, you'll have to pardon if my voice sounds a little bit different. I'm actually a little bit sick. The cold going around and everything. Um, but Monster from a Prehistoric Planet is actually an English dub of a Japanese film called Gappa the Triphibian, if I'm saying that correctly, the Triphibian monster. So this is, as I said, this film was released back in 1967, right smack dab in the middle of the Godzilla or Kaiju boom that was taking place in Japan, which basically lasted through the 70s and was the 60s and 70s, and still continues to this day, of course, because they've got more Godzilla movies coming out as we speak. But the real heyday, where you see all the classic Godzilla movies, where it's always Godzilla versus something, that trend really started in the late 60s and carried through the 80s, or the 70s rather. So this is not a Godzilla movie. The monster in this, or the race of monsters, are referred to as Gappa. And the Gappa live on an island somewhere in the Pacific that is only inhabited by tribes people. And this island is visited by a group of Japanese scientists and reporters who were sent there by the owner of a magazine company to get wild animals for a theme park that this magazine is setting up. So basically, this is just a convoluted plot device to get them to this deserted island, and the inhabitants or the tribes people of this island are essentially considered to be savages, and they're portrayed as being, of darker skin than the Japanese scientists, because they are actually Japanese people that just have like brown grease paint on them. And the only one that gets any notable screen time is a little Japanese boy who they have covered head to toe in brown grease paint, and he talks to the Japanese scientists in broken English in the dub, but with probably broken Japanese in the original cut, or the original translation. So 20 minutes in, we already see that this is a very cheaply made film that's kind of racist. But then we get to see the monsters, because, of course, this island has a constantly active spewing volcano on the top of it, which causes an earthquake, which opens up a cave where the main characters go into, and I didn't write down all the main characters' names because it's an ensemble cast, as many of these kaiju movies are, and all of their names were Japanese, so I probably would have butchered them if I tried to write them down and replicate them with my mouth for you right now. But they go in the cave and find an egg, and just as they're about to leave, the egg hatches, and it looks like a weird lizard turtle thing with like a bird's beak for a mouth. And of course, they scoop it up and decide to take it back to Japan. The scientists want to do science on it, and the reporters want to give it to the theme park to display. And of course, this causes a rift in the already developing love triangle that we're not going to talk about because I don't care about the humans in this movie. So with the baby Gappa, baby bird Godzilla, with him having been kidnapped by these scientists and reporters, his parents, the daddy Gappa and the mommy Gappa, wake from their eternal slumber beneath the volcano. And just to briefly explain what these creatures actually look like, The one that I believe is the male has a ridge on the top of his head that looks like it's almost like a shark, like a dorsal ridge. Um, and they have beaks for mouths, and they have wings that instead of flapping like actual wings, they just fold open, and the Gappas fly through some form of like jet propulsion. Because, like I said, their wings never move while they're flying, they just remain in an upright position. And other than that, these are just Godzillas. Now, the Wikipedia, the Kaiju fandom Wikipedia that I had to go on to get information about this creature, states that between the male and the female, they're both about 250 feet tall. And the movie can't decide how tall they are, and I guess that's just a guesstimation by the people that watch the movie. But in some scenes, like on the island, they could be as little as like 50 feet compared to the people or the foliage around them. And in other scenes where it's like a blue screen of the horizon, back before green screens existed, a lot of these the monster effects were done via blue screen. It's basically the same principle, where they basically blot out the sky so they could be hundreds or thousands of feet tall based on simply the scaling of that. But honestly, that's the least of this movie's problems. Like I said, there's a romantic love triangle subplot between the girl, the scientist, and the reporter. That, and also there's the owner of the magazine who wants to get rich off the baby Gappa. But basically, they take the concept of these two kaiju, these two creatures, flying over to Japan and fucking shit up to try and get their baby back. And they manage to stretch that for an entire 90-minute runtime, with some of the slowest and most clumsily done monster action that I've ever seen. Now, this just may be my bias, because other than like the classic Godzilla movies, like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Mothra, Godzilla versus King Kong, the original, not the new one that haven't came out yet. Other than these like Godzilla titles, I haven't watched a lot of kaiju media from back in the day. But this just seems really shit in comparison. Like the people in the monster costumes are moving slow as shit. The cities and landscapes they're destroying all look cheap as hell. And in any scene where the monsters are like destroying a city or whatever, they mix the sound so poorly that it's just this constant like screeching and rumbling that is going on over top the sounds of the weird bird call things that the Gappas make. And that's all going on while there's also like a score playing in the background. So basically, all the action scenes are fucking unlistenable because they don't mix anything. They don't mix it, and it's all just like thrown in there. I guess to invoke like terror or a sense of scale, but it just seems like you're getting your ears punched in the face while you're watching the shitty people in rubber suits destroying fake buildings. But of course, in the end, the good guys of the humans win out, and the girl character learns to be strong and independent and not let men push her around. And she talks everybody into giving the baby Gappa back. And legitimately all three of the Gappas like hug at the end. Like the mom and dad come like pick up the kid, and the mom gives them a hug, and the dad gives them a hug, and then they teach the baby Gappa how to fly real quick, and they all fly off into the sunset. So that's going to be it for my commentary on this here motion picture. Overall, I would not recommend it. It's pretty shitty. And that's all really I have to say about this one. But before I let you go, I have to pick my next two movies for the classic horror review series here. Now there's 50 movies in total we're going through. And the next one is going to be The Vampire Bat from 1933. And Atom Age Vampire from 1960. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see some more, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.